So Gollum came out in 2023, was widely hated and negatively received, and surprisingly wasn't the worst game of 2023. As I watched the hilarious playthroughs of that game, I saw horrid game design and poor quality across the board.
Is this fucking real? There's no way this is supposed to be happening. Have I gone completely fucking mad?
But it did get me thinking about another platformer from the same franchise. Yes, believe it or not, there is another platforming game for Bilbo Baggins. Bilbo was the protagonist of the book, obviously named The Hobbit, which the game is named after, and the character himself is kind of important to the events of The Lord of the Rings. Well, so is Gollum, but also, this was the first game I played on the PS2 when I got it Christmas morning, alongside Simpsons Hit Run. It's kinda weird that this game was my first exposure to the Lord of the Rings franchise. Another thing I wanted to point out is that I've only beaten this game once in my teens. This game was difficult for a young lad like me, and also the only game that actually scared me. Like, I remember vividly making it to Smaug's level and just noping away as soon as I saw the behemoth. So let's take a look at this childhood classic and see how well it's held up. Also, I haven't read the Hobbit books, my only exposure to them is this game and the movie trilogy. For this video, I'll be playing the game on the PC because it's easier to record on, and while I own the PS2 copy, I don't have the equipment to record from it. Either way, both were basically the same. Every time we reach a level, we're greeted with a book-like page where the narrator explains the plot. On some occasions, the game uses rendered cutscenes instead. Now, the book style is a lot more timeless and fits very well with the game being based on the book as is. It also has some expressive illustrations that help give them personality. Even the rendered cutscenes look solid as well, glad these haven't aged too much. Booting this game up gave me so much nostalgia, I had the biggest smile seeing this level again.
Get them, you filthy ratbags! Tear them apart!
So obviously that was all a dream, which would inspire Bilbo to go on the quest. Level 2, the Shire. This is the closest thing we get to a tutorial level on the gameplay's more primary direction. NPCs around the Shire will talk to Bilbo with either quests or just fun comments to add to the world.
Bilbo Baggins, I saw your visitor. Are you meddling with wizards?
Wizards are meddling with me.
Another lad going off into the blue for mad adventures. You might as well be some use before you go. Fetch my butter churn, please.
For whatever reason, the ladies of the Shire are in absolute awe of Bilbo. Now you'll probably notice some pickups around the Shire, these being gems and silver pennies. Gems help Bilbo grow some balls and expand his courage points when he levels up. Meanwhile, silver pennies allow Bilbo to visit the vendors at the end of each level to purchase a variety of items.
Hey, what are you doing?
Hey, Bilbo! Wanna play some hide and seek? I'm afraid I'm in a bit of a hurry. We'll go hide, you seek. Ready? Go! Children.
Never say that to me again.
The bridge is out.
But I need to get to the other side.
I could fix it, but I'll need my hammer and nails.
Yes, this game has a lot more to it than just platforming and will often meet Bilbo to collect items to progress to certain areas. The game will often show a path to the objective while also showing the potential dangers and platforming expected. Also, why is this guy's kid playing on top of a waterfall? Now, hobbits may love food more than Nico Avocado, but these guys literally build bridges in seconds.
Dad, this shouldn't take long. Good as new.
After the bridge is fixed, we run into Bomber, who informs us that the dwarves still need rations for the journey. It's likely you'll have already found some food from the residents of the Shire, and Bomber will reward the player for the rations he brings. Now that the entire level is open, the rest of the food can be found. Also, that old hobbit left the watering hole, let's see what he was guarding. Also, some of the obstacles for the food will force you to go to the last save, effectively killing you. This means those chickens that have retired here from the Zelda series are more dangerous than Smaug himself. And this guy complains about millennials to a degree that Bilbo passes out and dies.
Those children keep running around playing hide and seek. Ham fast in that old mill, Bell over at the market. Those children need to be careful. They just raise a ruckus every chance they get. When I was a boy, we respected them.
But overall, we got the food and we head to the Green Dragon Inn to begin the iconic quest.
It's about time you arrived, Mr. Baggins. Let the journey begin.
So the Shire was a beautiful place. Green grass, crops, a community of people who hate change. Level 3 and onwards is not the Shire.
Our food supplies are low after one of our ponies took fright and bolted.
Wait, you mean all my rations are gone? Thanks for wasting my time. You can actually talk to all the dwarves around here, some being more standout than the others, but overall they offer good company.
Oh, I wish you'd burgle us a nice hot dinner. I'm starving.
Also, this is where the first hostile enemies start appearing. Unlike in level 1 where Bilbo was invincible, Bilbo can die now, and also unlike level 1, you don't have a sword, you have a fucking stick. Also some rocks and stones. Oh fuck, I said
For Arkenstone!
Bilbo can throw stones and use his walking stick to fend off enemies for the time being. Obviously Bilbo gets the sword again, so what use does the stick have afterwards? The level actually explains that Bilbo can use it to vault across long gaps, meaning it always has a use when it comes to platforming. We also get introduced to water, platforming's greatest enemy. Bilbo can't swim in this game, meaning instant death if you fall in. As we come to the end of level 3, we are introduced to stealth sections of the game with these 3 trolls. Despite only coming up here to scout ahead, Bilbo tries to prove his worth as a burglar by stealing something from the trolls. If Bilbo gets seen in these sections, you will be instantly game overed. As a kid, these 3 stooges scared me. These hulking behemoths were just very intimidating for a child me. Turns out the thing we came to steal is alive.
When the dwarves crept up to investigate, the trolls popped them all into sacks. Suddenly, the trolls started arguing. Gandalf imitated their voices and tricked them into a nasty fight. They fought until dawn. When the sun rose, the trolls turned to stone.
So Gandalf came back. That's good. He just saved our lives after all. So now we're scaling some caves, and why is Jennifer Hale in my video game?
My healing draft is in the next chamber, but I'm too weak to get it. Can you bring it to me?
That is a wolf dressed up as a tank. So this is the first boss of the game, and there are a few of them throughout the game. After we commit genocide on the tank wolves, we give this elf her potion. This elf Liana was not actually in the book, surprisingly, and was solely made for this game. That's a little fun fact for you there. Much of the level ahead is the standard affair of platforming and using items to progress further. One notable thing is that we receive the sword Sting, as shown in the first level. Sting is more combat oriented, and the difficulty will start to go up after this point. Enemies will now be more tanky and aggressive, but you can also use the lock-on to engage enemies and even block them. Kid me just charged in ahead and fucking died a lot, often just spamming the attack button like anyone else would. So it is weird to play this game with more restraint and actually use the lock-on feature to defend myself. So going forward, a lot of the levels are going to be very samey, having a mix of platforming, combat, puzzles and stealth segments. So I'll briefly go over levels and highlight any notes. In level 5, we try to help the dwarves find dry firewood, only to get separated. This level is more platform and puzzle focused with some enemies sprinkled in, so you can try out that awesome blue sword. Another thing I'll point out is that throughout levels you can find chests. These chests can be lockpicked through a very unique minigame. Just hit the greens. However, the quality of the chest determines whether it's booby-trapped. Failing this minigame will result in Bilbo taking damage and in later levels, even get poisoned. The level ends with a massive ambush from some goblins, and I actually almost died here. Don't forget to give the dwarves their firewood, you want all the gems you can get. Also because you nearly died for it, so it'd just be a waste if you didn't. Level 6 sees Bilbo alone again after another ambush. This level has a lot more of everything, including a stealth section where you save the enslaved dwarf and he murders everyone. You also meet Gollum, who somehow managed to do Gollum right. Why the fuck did they make this awful fucking game? We also get a new item, not a super important one, but...
There's one ring to rule them all.
We reunite with the dwarves again, though a pretty cool cinematic plays, and this surprisingly held up. Level 7 is horrifying as Bilbo once again is alone and in a horrible fucking forest. The combat hits its high so far with groups of new enemies to deal with, most notably spiders who introduce the poison. There's also 2 boss fights in this level from the Necromancer and the 3 angry sister spiders. And yet little humble Bilbo is able to defeat them without any help from the dwarves. Level 8 is a massive change up. Stealth sections before were limited to small 5-minute ventures, but this has been completely flipped. Bilbo must avoid the elves and rescue the dwarves again. Jesus, I swear we've spent the last 2 levels just rescuing dwarves. I used to find this level a massive headache to traverse when I was young, but now that I'm older, I just managed to get by without any issue. Lyanna also makes a return and helps Bilbo to free the dwarves. Once you've snuck by the elves and got the dwarves packed up for their Amazon shipping to Lake Town, we can set off for the next level. By the way, you can talk to the dwarves while they're in the barrels.
A king in a barrel? Bah.
Hey, Bilbo! Any snacks for our long voyage, eh?
Well. The barrel is quite comfortable after all.
Ooh! Hey, what's it? Baggins!
Level 9 and we're in Lake Town. Arguably the most complex level so far, Bilbo performs various tasks for the townspeople, mixing up puzzle elements and combat elements. Speaking of puzzle elements, this old man.
Combination escapes me in memory, but I do remember this. Yeller is to the left of red and blue, which is not next to black. Purple can only lie beside black, and none else. Black is to the right of yeller. I regret I can't remember more.
A lot of videos on this game mention the difficulty of his bottle puzzle, and yeah, it's a confusing riddle. There's also some stealth segments mixed in, often following some dodgy fellows who are involved with the goblins. Given that Bilbo's kill count now rivals the Doomslayer at this point, he pretty much eradicates them, no help from Bard of course. After helping Bard and the town, we move on to level 10. We finally made it to Smaug, and hot damn I died here more than anywhere else so far. Mostly from platforming accidents and the game killing me when I try to get past Smaug. This level is mostly platforming as you will try to avoid waking up Smaug or... The gold coins make noise, and also making contact with Smaug will instantly wake him up. After helping Thorin get his chalice, we go back in to find a weak spot because Thorin only realised that 13 dwarves isn't enough to kill a fucking dragon. Stealth becomes a priority as Smaug is pissed that he's lost his favourite drinking cup. After discovering his weak spot, Smaug finds us and then we have to make our way out of the place. Smaug then goes off to burn some people because that's just how he is. Meanwhile, we are now tasked with helping the dwarves cross a cavern so they can get into the dwarf city of Erebor. Something I never knew with this level is that you could find rare items and bring them to the 4 dwarves, giving you courage points. When I was younger, this level felt really short, but it was legit because I only followed the main objectives. On replay, this level took me a long time to get through, but that was because I went out of my way to find the rare items and chests littered about. Also, as Smaug escaped, a bird heard where the weak spot was and informs Bard. With this information, Bard kills Smaug, saving Lake Town. I know this happened in the books, but it still feels very Deus Ex Machina to remove Smaug. Or maybe it's genius, I'm just some silly YouTuber. Level 11 had me scratching my head until I looked up how to walk through and found out I can roll over these blocks. This took me a while because we haven't had a single roll over things for any previous pushing puzzle. Anyway, the rest of the level is more of a puzzle combined with some fetch quests. You'll have a room dedicated to waterworks, the lifts, and of course the jewellery chamber where the Arkenstone is. You'll also be looking for key molds that are hidden away in some of the higher places accessible through the lifts, and the waterworks area allows you to open secret passages to chests. Once we have the Arkenstone, Bilbo attempts to prevent a war by trying to barter with Thorin. This doesn't work, and as the elves and men prepare to attack the dwarves, they are warned by Gandalf of a massive goblin army.
Dread has come upon you all! The goblins of the north are coming! Behold, they ride upon wargs!
Thus we come to level 12, the final level. Bilbo is in a war much like the dreams from the first level, only this time it's real. As such, Bilbo is not invincible this time round.
I will not stop you. Use both your ring and your wits.
Is it me, or is Gandalf knowing about the One Ring a bit lore-breaking? I don't remember the films very much, someone will let me know. This level is the only one that does not have a courage point limit due to the enemies constantly spawning. This level is also the most alive, with NPCs that actually help you. Along with that, many of the NPCs are those that you've met along the way, including Lyanna and Corwin. You also meet a giant bear, and it struck me how kinda nuts this game is. The final challenge is to defeat this big goblin king from the first level by pushing these blue barrels into a game of mousetrap. These kill the orc major, stopping Brion the bear man from performing the revenant on the goblin, and this was actually a little difficult to do. While you can ignore the enemies, it has a strict time limit, though nothing unfair. Once Brion the bear man is free, he defeats the goblin king and Bilbo suffers a minor concussion. And the game is beaten, and Thorin dies by the way. It all kind of abruptly ends, like you help defeat the goblins, Lake Town rebuilds and Bilbo goes home. It would have been interesting to see the Shire again as like a final cutscene, but realistically the story is now told. The Hobbit is far from the greatest game ever. Replaying it recently has been an interesting experience, especially after watching the entire Gollum game. The game itself is in that average area for most of the stuff inside. Combat is a bit basic and platforming is a bit stiff, though it never annoyed me. Any death as a result of platforming was mine alone, and I never felt the game was unfair. The puzzles throughout the game are decent, and the only one in level 11 gave me issues because again it doesn't mention rolling objects around anywhere in this game. The atmosphere of the game feels nailed on, and honestly the game looks really nice in the style it has, and pickups are very easy to spot as they have this very bold border and style over them. Stealth sections are about average as well, though none of them overstay their welcome and a few in number across the game, though this one in Lake Town is a bit tedious. Another thing of note is Bilbo kind of controls like a tank. You can feel how heavy he is given the little man has had 4 breakfasts every day to help ground him. However, it can make precision platforming a bit of a headache, especially given he jumps up with a very high velocity. Also, the music in this game is something else. I adore the soundtrack in this game as it fits perfectly. Have a listen. It still baffles me how much better this game is compared to Gollum. Like, who knew a game about Bilbo Baggins would do so much better? There's a 20-year gap, how did they manage this? The game of Gollum looks so bland and there's no redeeming gameplay there. Meanwhile, you have a colourful world with secrets tucked in, characters you can interact with, and a lot more love put into it. This game makes Gollum redundant and a reminder that Gollum came out in 2023. Meanwhile, this massive improvement from 2003, which made each level stand out, has much better gameplay. Hell, it looks better in a style perspective. Literally, if you are one of the unfortunate souls to buy Gollum, you should definitely place that shit in the garbage and play this instead. It ain't perfect, and compared to other platformers, it is a bit behind, but if you're looking for a fun game that tells a decent retelling of The Hobbit, then this game is worth looking at. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, and be sure to check out my other reviews in the playlist that should hopefully be on screen.